Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of TCG Talk, back today with another video. And in today's video, I'm going to be giving my opinion on the top 5 most powerful cards in the Alpha Class TCG for set 1, just based off some of the card findings I've had, and just kind of give my opinion and have some fun with it. So if you like this type of content, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. Whether you're looking for Alpha Class content or you found me through Flesh and Blood, I really appreciate it. If you found me through Flesh and Blood, I hope you enjoyed the spoiler video yesterday. It was really fun making it, and we had a really good time. If you're a long-standing supporter, thank you so much for your continued support. I really appreciate y'all, especially through this slight change in my content stream. It's been really fun, and yeah, we'll get right into it. Oh, also, feel free to look at the Patreon, the Discord down below. Have some good stuff there for you all as well. So, getting into it, I wanted to do, we have Here Comes the Boom, which I think is like one of the obvious ones. But I wanted to pick 5 cards that I thought were the most powerful in the Alpha Class TCG. And so when I was thinking of these 5 cards, you can kind of go at it through a couple different ways. You can come at it from like, what are the top 5 in a vacuum most powerful cards? Like which ones have the most powerful effects tied to them, and like which ones are just bombs, right? Then you could think of which ones have the most impact on the meta, right? Most 5 powerful cards from just an impact standpoint, right? Or impact on games. And then you also can think of cards like I thought of, which is a mix of both, right? I wanted to think of cards that are very powerful and have powerful effects, but are also consistently playable, right? I think like Alistair is a good example of that, where it's an 8-drop bomb that just completely changes the entire course of the game. However, it can be a little bit hard to play, right? Like Alpha Aster is really hard to play at times just because of the amount of resources that are combined with it. So just because it's that powerful, if it's really hard to play, how does that affect the power? To me, it affects the power. I want cards that are very powerful, have powerful effects, have game-changing effects, but also at the same time are very consistent in their power level from game to game. So I did 5, and then I have an honorable mention one right here. So these are in no particular order. My first one I want to talk about is Here Comes the Boom. Deal 5 damage to all Clash cards. This does include your Clash cards, so if you're not playing Torque, there is kind of a drawback to this card. It does have a lot of synergy with Torque's kit with the damage prevention and buffing his own cards by dealing damage to them, things of that nature. But there's not any board wipe mechanic in set 1, like sheer board wipe, like destroy all creatures, period, right? Or destroy all Clash cards, period. There is nothing like that in the game. However, this is the closest to it, right? Dealing 5 damage, that takes care of, I'm going to give an arbitrary number, like 60-70% of Clash cards in the game, unless there's a way to stop it. And it's just really, really, really powerful. In this game, because there's not a lot of board wipe and there's not a lot of unconditional removal in the game yet, cards like this are very important because it allows you to catch up right when you're behind in board state, and it's just a super powerful card. And then when you talk about Torque and its synergy with like Torque the Uncontrollable and a couple of the cards, like it just has insane synergy with those cards, because some of those cards say like whenever this card's dealt damage, instead of dealing damage to it, put a 1/1 counter on it, like Torque the Uncontrollable. It's really good with cards like Torque Raging Force, if you can combine it with some of the action cards that help prevent damage, just all those types of things. So this one's pretty simple. I think Here Comes the Boom is going to have a super big impact when it is played. One of the more impactful cards you can possibly have in the game. So that's the first one. Second one is San Francisco. I think out of all the Clash grounds, this one has the most swinginess to it when it comes to power level. First off, 3 out of 5 of the contenders coming into the set are alphas. Mean Streak is an alpha. Magnate is an alpha. And then Torque is an alpha, right? So this card works for 3 out of 5 of the cards, out of 5 of the contenders in set 1, giving all alpha Clash cards 2/2. That's just crazy. I even had a game where I was playing against a friend the other day where I was playing Mean Streak, and I had a 1-drop Mean Streak card on the board with a counter on it, a 2-drop with the counter on it, and normally those come in for 1/1 and 1/2. Well, with this card, they came in for 3/4 and 3-4, and 3-3 just by themselves. And when you count that with mean streaks, other abilities it just snowballed very, very quickly. Super powerful to give basically all your cards or a majority of your cards 2-2. It just, most Clash Grounds do attacking or defensive. They don't really do both, not all of them at least. So the fact that this does both, and the fact that it's over all of your cards, all of your alpha cards, not just some cards, I think that lends it to be very, very, very powerful. So this one for me, and the second ability, alpha cards and rogue cards get interception, which in this game, flight is a super, super powerful mechanic. So the fact that you can combat that, I think it's just one of the more consistent Clash Grounds in the game, and I think it's something that cannot be overlooked as far as how powerful it is. Third one is surprise. I'm really big on unconditional removal in the game. There is very, very, very little unconditional removal. 2 of the unconditional removal cards in the game, I think there's 3 that I can remember off the top of my head. There's Aster, there's Kagan the Dragon, and then there's Surprise. 2 of them are on this list. Surprise is unconditional removal, counterattack, send a target attacking Clash card to the Oblivion after this clash. Doesn't matter if it's a 9-drop, a 1-drop, a 2-drop. Doesn't matter, right? Until they put more things in the game to then counter stuff like this card is just nuts, right? Your opponent can spend 4 turns getting out 8-drop or a 9-drop, and you take it out with a simple 3-drop quick action card. So super powerful card. It really evens the playing field for black, especially for Moxie, who needs it. But just in general, until they put ways to negate this, which in this game, since this game is an action-based game and not a stack-based game, and there's not continuous passing of priority in terms of reacting to something your opponent's doing. So for example, in Flesh and Blood, and we're going to talk about this in another video, but in Flesh and Blood, when I play an action, it creates a stack, and then you're allowed to respond to that action, and then you can also instant speed onto your own response, and then I can respond to your response, and you can respond to my response, so long as we have the cards to play. This game, there is play Clash card, you can respond to my play. That's it. That's all that happens. And then when I attack, you can respond to my attack with obstructions, response actions, or traps. And then I can respond with a Clash buff, you respond with a Clash buff. But that's it. There's no stacked layers on top of that. It's very sequenced. Because of that, there's only going to be but so many things that can counter something like surprise, and just non-conditional removal. Unconditional removal is just unbelievable. Fourth one, Kagan the Dragon, for 2 reasons. One, it's a 5/5 flight at 6-drop, which is super powerful, and it also has the same thing as Surprise. On enter, you may send target Clash card to Oblivion. Now, this card has to get on the field, so if they have a way to counter it some way, you could. It's a little bit less powerful, in my opinion, and it's a 6-drop, but entering the Clash zone, you can send target Clash card to the Oblivion. Any Clash card, doesn't mean 2 or less, doesn't mean 3 or more, whatever it may be. 90% of the removal in this game is conditional, where it's 2 or less, 3 or less, or 3 or more, 4 or more, or even 1 or less. So the fact that, again, unconditional removal, it just makes this card so good, and it's a 5/5 flight just as a shits and giggles. It's a super powerful card. And in Magnate, this card's a 5/6. And then when you combine this card with cards like San Francisco, if you play blue-green alphas, all of a sudden this is in a Magnate blue-green deck with San Francisco on the board. I know it's a lot of ifs, but it's really not that hard when you think about it. I mean, this is literally a 7/8. A 7/8 that removes your opponent's most powerful threat on the board unconditionally. Just super powerful. And then finally, I wanted to pick one of the big bomb drops. Magnate the Undisputed, in my opinion, is the best 8-drop of all the colors. It just has everything. I mean, all factor, just its first line of text is broken. When this card enters play, all Clash cards you don't control get -2, -0. So people's ability to attack this card and take it out is even less, right? I mean, if they have a card that does 6 attack and now does 4, and they have to find a way to get their 3 damage outside of the Clash before the Clash resolves. Just super powerful ability. It has breakthrough. This attacking Clash card deals excessive Clash damage to an opponent's contender if its attack power is higher than the total defense power of the opposing clash cards in this clash. It has Undisputed, which says this clash card can't be defeated during a clash on your turn. So on your offensive turn, this basically has indestructible. It can't die, which is super, super powerful. And then finally, if you control 2 or more magnate clash cards, you may reduce the cost play by 1, which is just like, again, another kicker. I think this is like the most baseline powerful big drop in the game. Aster is very powerful as well, and it had. But the reason I don't, so just for people that are aware, the reason I don't put Aster on this list, and you know, it's nothing against the card itself. It's just the fact, like, for anyone that's not aware, I didn't put it in here for this recording, but Aster is irrefutable, which means it can't be prevented with entering play, which is really powerful. It has Observant, which means it can't attack right away. Unrivaled, you only can have 1 card of it per deck. And it basically says each player sends all their clash cards they control from their clash zone to their oblivion. I don't like that necessarily, because if you have board advantage, you don't want to do that. Then each player searches their deck for 1 alpha clash card, puts it into play. Cards that enter the play this way lose all effects and abilities until end of turn. Each player then shuffles their deck. So yes, can you wipe your opponent's board? Yes, but you have to wipe your own board in the process. So basically, this is the only thing on the board at that point. Then they're allowed to go get their most powerful thing, which might be like a magnate Undisputed, right? And they might have an ability, which then they give your Aster -2 attack. So now it's coming in for 7. And then maybe magnate is a 7/7 against your 7/9. And it just creates weird states against alphas that I don't like. And that's why I didn't put it in here, to be completely honest with you. So this is the 5th one, though. And then finally, for honorable mention, Flare Explosive Combat is just fantastic. It's a 6/6 drop with flight. When you attack, deal 2 damage to all other clash cards. Yes, that's your own, but in Torque, this is extremely broken. And just in general, this card is just nutty. It helps you clear their board very, very efficiently. If you have like maybe this and another like 4 drop on the field, and they have a bunch of little 1 and 2 drops or 2 and 3 drops, this can like just clear their whole board. You attack their biggest threat at 6/6, and then you deal 2 damage to like all their 1 and 2 health like weenies. So super powerful. Excuse me, sorry. Super powerful card. And it's an honorable mention for me. But yeah, those are my 5 most powerful cards. Obviously, this is opinionated. I think these just have the most consistent damage threats. And a lot of them have unconditional effects for the most part, unless you can prevent them from entering play. And in this game in set 1, there's a lot of conditional stuff. There's a lot of conditional removal. There's a lot of conditional reduction. There's a lot of conditional like stuff. A lot of these cards don't have conditions. They just do it as long as they can enter and play. So that was my reasoning for picking a lot of these. But let me know what you think your top 5 cards are. If you have cards that you think should have made this list, let me know. I know Alpha Aster is going to be like a big one for a lot of people. Trying to think of other ones that people might put in. I think another one that is possible is like the Torque heavy drop is really good. But most of Torque's like heavy drops are to do with Flare. Magnate, I already talked about his. Mean Streak has a really good 7 drop as well that's really powerful. But overall, I think that these were kind of like the most consistent. But yeah, if you like this type of content, let me know what you think. Let me know what your opinions are on the most powerful cards in the game so far, just for fun. I'll really love to hear from y'all. And yeah, I'll see y'all next time on TCG Talk. Thank y'all so much. Have a good day.